Oh my goodness, Ja Morant returned to the NBA and he dropped a masterclass performance, and Curry went crazy in OT. Not to mention my glorious sweet king had a 40-point game at this old ass age. He's really that guy. Oh, and this is going to be uploaded on Christmas, so Merry Christmas. Welcome back to another installment of Basketball This Week, or BTW for short. A series in which I recap highlighted moments from the NBA in that specific week, whether it be player moments, drama moments, or just the overall games. So, without further ado, let me get into Monday's games. Monday started off with a bang as we had this hot Clippers team face off against the Indiana Pacers, and they won 151 to 127 after James Harden dropped 35 and 9. And all I gotta say is, Mom made pizza rolls, man. And if you know, you know. This now extends the Clippers win streak to 8. They are some trouble in the West. Moving on, we had an OT game between the Cavaliers and the Houston Rockets, in which the Cavaliers won 135 to 130 after Donovan Mitchell dropped 37 and 6. The Cavs were without Darius Garland, which is probably why this game was so hard fought, but it was an entertaining game all throughout. The Bulls then faced off against the 76ers, in which they actually won 108 to 104, very surprisingly, as Kobe White had himself a 24, 9, and 8 performance, almost a triple-double. Moving on, we had the Detroit Pistons and the Atlanta Hawks, in which Cade Cunningham dropped 43, 7, and 5, a straight-up generational performance and a loss. Hey, but at least it was single digits this time. The Timberwolves then beat the Heat 112 to 108 after Anthony Edwards dropped 32, 8, and 5. And then the Raptors beat the Hornets 114 to 99, and Miles Bridges wasn't even allowed into Canada tonight because of his 3 years probation status. And I'm just finally glad something goes wrong for Miles Bridges, because all he's got so far is a slap on the wrist. Don't let this dude into that glorious sweet country of Canada. In fact, don't even let that Hall of Fame women respecter out of Charlotte. Let him suffer. There's nothing to do in North Carolina. Besides, like, I don't know, being a Mr. Beast video, I guess. The Thunder then blew out the Grizzlies without Ja 116 to 97, and Shea had himself a 39 and 5 game, and Chet Holmgren had himself another 7-block game. He's going crazy. Then the Denver Nuggets beat the Mavericks 130 to 104 despite Nikola Jokic dropping a triple single. The Jazz beat the Brooklyn Nets 125 to 108, and the Kings beat the Wizards 143 to 131 off a triple-double from Sabonis and a 30-point game from Fox and a 25-point game from Keegan Murray. Everyone was firing for the Kings. And for the final game of the night, it came down to the wire as the Knicks played the Lakers, and the Knicks won 114 to 109 after Jalen Brunson made some clutch baskets in the fourth quarter, and they won despite a LeBron triple-double. You'll get him next time, King. But that about does it for Monday's games, so let's move on to Tuesday. For Tuesday's night of basketball, it started off with one of the most anticipated games of the season, that being Ja Morant's comeback. The Grizzlies have been struggling heavily all season without their primary ball handler and obviously their primary star. Due to that, they started the season an awful 6 and 19. But Ja was on a mission tonight as he had 34, 8, and 6, and he hit the year 2 small celebration on Jose Alvarado and hit the game winner on the night. Just like he said at the end of his interview, he's a dog. Adam Silver went straight up crazy on this script. Moving on to a less exciting game, we had the Milwaukee Bucks and the San Antonio Spurs, and the San Antonio Spurs were already pretty bad this season, but they also were without arguably their best player in Victor Wembanyama, so they lost quite easily, as Giannis had a triple-double and then Damian Lillard had a 40-piece, with the final score being 132 to 119, and shout out Bobby Portis. Moving on to the next game of the night, we had the Phoenix Suns and the Portland Trailblazers, in which Kevin Durant had a 40-piece, but it didn't matter because the Portland Trailblazers actually won 109 to 104. The next game of the night was the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors, and let me tell you, this was a great game. With about a minute 40 left, the Warriors were down 3, and Stephen Curry hits a step-back 3 to tie the game, which eventually brings them to overtime. In overtime, with about 15 seconds left, Warriors up 1. Curry gets the ball past him in the corner, and he hits this clutch 3, basically for the win, the dagger, and then he hits the goodnight celly on them. Who said Curry isn't clutch, man? And the Warriors are actually the Celtics' kryptonite. I'm telling you, they straight up can't do shit against this team. For the first game of the night, we had the Philadelphia 76ers and the Minnesota Timberwolves, in which Joel Embiid had a 51 and 12 game, and they won 127 to 113. And many people were calling Joel Embiid the Wizard and Pistons man because he was only going against them and he's putting up great numbers. But he's proven that he can put up fantastic numbers against the #1 defense in the league. He's not a fraud. Moving on, the Heat beat the Magic, and the Pacers blew out the Hornets 144 to 113, and the Cavaliers without Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland beat the Jazz 124 to 116, and the Nuggets without Jokic beat the Toronto Raptors 113 to 104. Then we had a battle of New York as the Knicks played the Nets, and they beat them 121 to 102 because Julius Randle was really locked in. Then the Hawks played the Rockets and they beat them 134 to 127, due in part to Trae Young dropping 30 and 14. He's been insanely locked in his last few games. Check the numbers, because people have been underrating him this whole year, I believe. Moving on, the Bulls beat the Lakers 124 to 108, and the Bulls have low-key been turning it around since they announced that they were going to try to move Zach LaVine. And if the Bulls are having a come up, I will be there no matter what. The Clippers then beat the Mavericks 120 to 111, and Kawhi Leonard had himself a 30, 10, and 5 game, and he's been stupidly locked in these last few games. He's a big part of why the Clippers have been succeeding so much since the James Harden trade. That marks 9 straight for them. I think they're going to go for 10 damn near. Moving on to the final game of the night, the Celtics absolutely stomped on the Kings and beat them 144 to 119, and we even let Peyton Pritchard drop 20 on us. And no slight to Peyton Pritchard, as if I was guarding him, he'd probably have 90 by the end of the third quarter, but Peyton Pritchard, 20! Come on! Lock in, Kings. God. But that about does it for this night of basketball, so let's move on to Thursday. For the first game of Thursday night, we had a game where people thought the Detroit Pistons were finally gonna win. They were even favored to win on the sporting books, which means, they have a decent chance. And guess what happened? They still somehow found a way to lose, as even the Jazz, without Lauri Markkanen, still decided to beat them 119 to 111. I don't think I've ever seen an NBA fan base this down bad in the mud. They were wearing paper bags over their heads and going to the game chanting "sell the team" when they lost. It's over for them. They might as well call it quits here. Moving on, we had a blowout game between the Pelicans and the Cavaliers, in which the Pelicans won 123 to 104, and Trey Murphy had himself a game with 28 and 4. Then the Bucks beat the Magic 118 to 114, and Giannis had 37 and 10. And the Clippers finally lost the game after they lost to the OKC Thunder 134 to 115, and Shea had 31 and 8. And moving on from that, the Memphis Grizzlies beat the Pacers 116 to 103, and Ja Morant is 2-0 since the comeback, as well as Desmond Bane dropping 31, 7 and 6 on the night. Then the Bulls beat the Spurs 114 to 95, and the Lakers without LeBron fall short against the Timberwolves 111 to 118. They need my glorious king to win. And tonight the Wizards actually didn't suck more than the Trailblazers, as they beat them 118 to 117. The battle of the mid strikes again. With all of that being said, that rounds out all the games for Thursday, so let's move on to Friday. For Friday's first game of the night, we had a really good one, as the 76ers played the Raptors, and they beat them 121 to 111 after 3 players on their team had 30 plus points, including Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey. All of them were dogs tonight and were damn near the only reason they won the game. Then we had the Nuggets and Nets, which was a really close game, but the Nuggets ended up winning 122 to 117 after Jamal Murray and Jokic had themselves very good games, with Jamal Murray having 32, 9 and 5, and Nikola Jokic having 31, 11 and 7. And moving on, the Rockets absolutely blew out the Mavericks without Luka and Kyrie. They blew them out 122 to 96, and Sengun had himself a really good game. Then the Heat played the Hawks, and they won 122 to 113. And in their last 1,200 games, the Hawks are now 600 and 600, the absolute definition of mid. But Tyler Hero had 30 and 7 on the night, so I guess we can talk about that too. Then the Sacramento Kings were on an absolute mission against the Suns as they won 120 to 105, and Malik Monk had this nasty ass dunk. Oh my god. And on the night, Sabonis had a triple-double. And closing the night out, the Warriors beat the Wizards 129 to 118 after Curry had himself a 30-point game. And Trace Jackson Davis is coming out the woodworks to be one of the best players for the Warriors after they've had a struggling season, so this was much needed. He had 10 and 15 on the night. But that about does it for Friday's game, so let's move on to Saturday. For Saturday's first game of the night, we had the Bucks and the New York Knicks, in which the Bucks won 130 to 111. Then we had the Celtics, who absolutely stomped on the Clippers. I remember watching this game with my family and just thinking, damn, maybe I should start praising the Celtics in these videos because I never talk about them. Fuck Boston. Moving on, in a very close game, the Houston Rockets beat the Pelicans 106 to 104, with the leading scorer being Alfred Sengun with 37, 11, and 6. This guy is mini Jokic. Then, despite a 29-point, 14-assist game from Tyrese Haliburton, the Pacers still lost to the Magic 110 to 117, due in part to a 34, 7, and 4 game from Paolo Banchero. Following that, the Nuggets played the Hornets and they won 102 to 95, and the Jazz beat the Raptors 126 to 119, and Lauri Markkanen came back this game and dropped 30 and 9. Get ready to be a Sacramento King, buddy. Then, following that game, the Memphis Grizzlies beat the Atlanta Hawks 125 to 119 after Desmond Bane and Ja Morant dropped 30, with Desmond Bane dropping 37, and Ja Morant had 11 assists on the night also. This was just an overall great game, and that means that now Ja Morant, in his first week back, has more wins than the Detroit Pistons have had the whole season. And speaking of the Pistons, they lost to the Brooklyn Nets tonight, meaning they've made history. They are now tied for the longest losing streak within NBA history, as they lost 115 to 126. We're never gonna get those wings, man. But moving on, my glorious Monarch had himself a crazy game where he dropped 47 and 7 on about 75% shooting and 100% shooting from 3, and the Lakers won 129 to 120. And I just want to let it be known, no other 38-year-old player is doing this. LeBron is that guy. Then after that, the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Bulls 109 to 95. Warriors beat the Trailblazers 126 to 106. Mavericks beat the Spurs 144 to 119, and Luka had himself a triple-double, damn near a 40-point triple-double. And the Kings got absolutely smoked by the Timberwolves 110 to 98, and I was actually at this game, which is very unfortunate. Anthony Edwards had himself a 34 and 10 game. But that about does it for this week of basketball, so I'll see y'all next week.